The story of Cain, one of the earliest figures in the Bible, presents us with a puzzling question. If Adam and Eve were the first humans, how did Cain find a wife and have children? This mystery has intrigued readers for centuries. In today's video, we'll delve into this mystery, uncover the biblical context, and explore some possible explanations. So please subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and let's dive in. The creation of Adam and Eve is a foundational event in the Bible, marking the beginning of humanity. According to Genesis, God created Adam from the dust of the earth and then formed Eve from one of Adam's ribs, establishing the first family. After being placed in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve began their lives as the first parents of humankind. In time, they had children. Among their first sons were Cain and Abel. Cain became a farmer working the land while Abel tended sheep as a shepherd. As the Bible recounts, both brothers brought offerings to God. Cain offered some of his crops, while Abel presented the best portions of his flock. God favored Abel's offering but did not accept Cain's. The Bible doesn't fully explain why Cain's offering was rejected, but many believe it was due to Cain's attitude and the quality of his gift. Cain, filled with anger and envy toward his brother, ignored God's warning to master his emotions and resist sin. In a tragic turn of events, Cain invited Abel into the field and killed him, committing the first murder recorded in Scripture. When confronted by God, Cain responded indifferently with the famous words, "Am I my brother's keeper?" God then cursed Cain, making him a wanderer on the earth, unable to cultivate the land. Cain expressed fear that others would seek revenge and kill him. In response, God placed a mark on Cain, ensuring his protection from anyone who might try to harm him. Afterward, Cain left and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden, where he had a wife and a son named Enoch. Here is where the mystery deepens. The Bible does not specify where Cain's wife came from. Genesis 4:17 simply states that Cain knew his wife and she bore him a son. So where did Cain find his wife if Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel were the first humans? One of the most debated explanations is that Cain married one of his sisters or nieces. While this idea may seem unusual today, it was likely common in the early stages of human history. Genesis 5:4 tells us that Adam and Eve had many sons and daughters beyond Cain, Abel, and Seth. Although the Bible doesn't list all of their names, it's reasonable to assume that Cain's wife could have been one of these daughters. Given the long lifespans of people in the early biblical accounts, Adam and Eve's family would have grown rapidly. Adam lived for 930 years, Genesis 5:5, and his descendants, including Seth and others, also lived for hundreds of years, allowing the population to expand significantly. In fact, Genesis records that Seth's lineage contributed greatly to the human race, including figures like Enoch and Enoch, who played important roles in early biblical history. At this time, marriage between siblings or close relatives was not only necessary but also culturally acceptable. The genetic risks associated with such unions, which we understand today, would not have been a concern in the early generations of humanity, particularly because Adam and Eve were created directly by God and would have had genetic perfection according to biblical tradition. It wasn't until the Mosaic Law, about 2,500 years later, that prohibitions against marrying close relatives were established, Leviticus 18. An alternative interpretation, less widely accepted, suggests that there may have been other humans created alongside or after Adam and Eve, forming separate populations from which Cain could have taken a wife. While this idea attempts to reconcile the biblical narrative with anthropological evidence of early human societies, it is not directly supported by Scripture. The Bible is clear that Adam and Eve are the ancestors of all humanity, as confirmed in Acts 17:26, which states that from one man, God made all nations of the earth. Another ancient source that explores this question is the Book of Jubilees, an apocryphal text that offers additional details about biblical figures. According to this book, Cain's wife was named Awan, one of Adam and Eve's daughters, and Seth's wife was named Azurah. Although the Book of Jubilees is not part of the canonical Bible and is considered apocryphal, it provides a possible narrative for those curious about the details missing from Genesis. However, it's important to note that the Book of Jubilees is not officially recognized by most Jewish and Christian traditions. While it offers intriguing insights into early biblical stories, it does not hold the same authority as the Bible. The longevity of the early generations, such as Methuselah, who lived 969 years, is another fascinating element of the Bible. Some scholars suggest that the pre-flood environment or divine purpose allowed for these long lifespans. After the flood, lifespans began to decrease, with figures like Abraham living 175 years and Moses 120 years, marking a shift in human longevity that coincided with changing times. Ultimately, the most accepted understanding is that Cain married a close relative, likely a sister or niece. This practice was not uncommon in the ancient world, especially in the early generations of humanity, when the population was still small. As the human race grew, laws against marrying close relatives were introduced to maintain genetic health and social stability. The Bible provides us with the essential information needed to understand God's plan for humanity, but doesn't aim to answer every question we might have about the details. As Isaiah 55:8-9 reminds us, God's ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. There are many aspects of God's plans that we may not fully comprehend, but we are called to trust in His wisdom and guidance. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Cain's wife was one of his sisters? Or do you find the interpretation from the Book of Jubilees interesting? Share your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more fascinating biblical insights. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you.